Hi, my name's Philip Tarl Denson, creator of Future Tales.
And I'm Raymund Agustin. I did the illustration for Chapter Red and Chapter Locks for Future Tales.
And today we're going to be going through the graphic novel and talking about all the ins and outs of creating it. Welcome to Wizards of Oz.
Prophecy, the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You'll find he is the wizard who is the ever a wizard was.
All right, so Future Tales, it's a reimagining of classic fairy tales but set in a post-apocalyptic cyberpunk world. We have different characters, all from classic fairy tales, in their own little stories, own chapters, but the other thing is the chapters themselves interweave, characters rock up in each other's stories to tell one bigger story and have them in an Avengers style final chapter all joining together to beat the big bad wolf. All right, let's jump into it. Let's start with this cover. So this cover, actually Raymund did, and we got this beautiful gold foil, which, how do you think that turned out?
It looks good and awesome, actually. Especially with the hardcover.
Yeah, we got that extra GSM, I think it's called. We did get some variant covers, including for this, and this one was sort of a halfway. We had 4 chapters done, so we did a quick one because we were going down to Sydney Comic-Con, and we wanted to have something there, and that's another Raymund cover as well. Let's jump into it.
I actually remember this one. This is the variant for the cover as well.
Yes.
So we had like 2 different colors.
I actually forgot about that, yeah. Which one do you... I mean, I like them both. That's the problem.
Yeah, we did like 2 color variants, and I think the gold one, it works well with this one.
With the blue, yeah, I agree.
It's like in contrast with the background color.
Yeah, and the red eyes sort of stand out a bit better. So here we are. Here's all the artists. We'll go through them chapter by chapter, but obviously we have Raymund, Antonio Diaz. Let's start with that because our first chapter is actually a prologue, which happened at the very end. It was the last one to be done. And Antonio is from Brazil, great artist from there. And you can see his work with a lot of ink and that depth in his work. But this introduction, the prologue, Once Upon a Time, the World Ended, was actually the first thing I wrote about this project way back, maybe 10 or so years ago. I wrote that and I wanted to always play with this. And that was part of the origins of this comic. Was we were doing Wild North Comics Anthology, the first one, and the whole group of us, Dan, Tim, John and I were like, okay, look, we have 10 pages to use. What project do we want to play with? And I think I had a few different ones, and the team, we had discussed it with the team, and we're like, oh, let's go with this, because then we can do different characters per each chapter. So that art was really nice. I really enjoyed that. But then it brings us to the first ever chapter. So this was the 10 pages we had. So we had an artist. Firstly, I started working with Annika Putri, who's an amazing artist, and we wanted to actually continue the series with her. But as it worked out, it didn't work out. She couldn't continue. But it actually allowed us to explore this idea, which I think is pivotal, is finding different creators or different artists from around the world to represent different stories and different characters, which really made it a global comic, which I was really excited by. This is Annika's art here.
Yeah, and then also her art style actually helped me complete the first chapter of Red and helped me establish the design that we used later on at the end.
Because that's the background as well, right? Background. And she laid it all out in this form, this layout.
Yeah, the panels, the paneling. So what she did actually helped me.
Yeah, great. And you can see I always envisioned the wolf soldiers' masks to be quite scary, but have these sort of ears to be wolf-like, even though the word wolf stands for World Order Liberation Front. No, what is it? I can't even remember that. My own. That's terrible. Yeah, but this is the one that kicks us all off, and it was the first story I had in mind. It's the Little Red Riding story, but told in a little snippet. She's taking cookies to grandma. You know, someone is disguised as something else, one of the wolf soldiers, and then bang, that's what opens up our Future Tales world. Which brings us to the second one. So this was never going to be the second chapter. However, we were under the pump for our next Wild North comics anthology, and this was when Annika was dead, and she laid out some of this, but she was just too busy with other work. And I was like, I need to find an artist. Found an artist from Africa And he was great. He smashed through this really quickly. We made sure that Sleeping Beauty was of Nigerian descent, which is where he's from. So that's when we started this idea of finding this connection between the characters and the artists. And this one was a shorter one, not full 10 pages, because we wanted to have a bit of a flashback one. I'm sure you can see that there, which she kind of tells her story, which gives a little bit of background to the whole world and what this story world is, and kind of hints towards the bigger picture and how they link. In fact, ta-da, the final panel, we reveal Red. She's connected to this character. So that's where that's the other thing I got excited by, is that, these aren't standalone. They're all going to interweave and inform each other. This is a cool piece of art that I think Tim helped with, which is just like a robotic variant of Wolfstone. Here we go. I'm going to let you talk through this one, if that's cool, Raymond. Locks.
This is one of the... we actually did have a lot of options for covers, right?
Right.
And then in the end, you decided to go a bit of a minimalist approach.
Yeah, you had a few, some which were really cool in depth, and I think we used one or two, or one of them, like, it was something like that. Like, if you can see this...
Yeah, so...
was going to be a top.
Actually, this last panel, this style was supposed to be a cover. And also this one, this one?
Yeah.
Which that one.
Just
those are one of the options.
pictures. That's right, and the creature, the monster, the bears were hiding under
hiding under the bridge. And then in the end, we decided to use this one because she wanted to do, like I said, like a minimalist style of cover that shows like the arm of the bear, one of the bear, and then she's looking at the food at the table.
The Goldilocks story. In fact, and this is one of the things I love about collaborating, is I would never have thought of a cover like this. So I would have given references to Raymond about, maybe like she's hiding behind a crate or something. But then the artists come up with this amazing things, and you're like, I didn't even think of that. Yes, let's go with that. And same with it, like, what a crazy big work you've done on this opening page.
Because you wanted to illustrate, you told me that you wanted to show their kind of how they live underground, what's their status, and then you wanted to show like different stores and how they're living underneath the city.
Yeah.
Of what's going on outside.
And I think you just came up with the name there, which is great. And again, we get a reference back to Red. And I always thought this line was funny. I want to be just like you when I grow up, says Locks. And then Red says, if you grow up.
So badass.
She's pretty badass, isn't it? What about the design of Locks?
We kind of went back and forth before, and then we decided to go with this design where her hair is kind of messed up to show that she hasn't been living quite well, but she has a bit of like positive attitude, like a playful attitude. So that's why we decided to put like a braid and then goggles, because she has like an adventure spirit, right?
Absolutely.
And she always wanted to go out and explore, and she kind of looks up to Red.
I love the Band-Aid actually on the nose. My daughter, who I think at the time was maybe 10, dressed up as Locks for her book week at school. So she got goggles and put a Band-Aid and got a green cape, which was actually pretty cool.
I actually put that there because to show that most of the time she gets herself into trouble because of her adventure spirit.
Great. See, that's something that I wouldn't even... Yeah, I love that. I love this piece of art. In fact, your work of light and even like how you can bleed it around. I don't actually know how. I want to learn how you do it, but it's amazing. Let's quickly, I know we're spending a bit more time on this, but it's because we have Raymond here. Let's quickly talk about the bears and what we landed on with their designs.
Yeah, we did some sketches before. Actually, don't remember how we landed on these designs, but when you described the bears, so I had this idea that they should have like different silhouettes, so you could kind of tell the difference with each other. So you mentioned the other bear, the baby bear.
Yeah,
it's kind of like frog or sticks to the ceiling.
Yeah,
and then the papa bear is the big one. It was the meat of the three, and then mama bear is kind of like
scary.
Yeah, scary with laser.
Yeah, because they're augmented. So the B.E.A.R.s
Yeah,
stands for
they're
bioengineered augmented resources. So it's like the woofers found people and animals and put genetic stuff together, put other things like there's robotic elements, and that's what I think originally you had the Papa Bear was more bear-like, and then we said, oh, let's bring it back a little bit to it's a human that has been augmented, and we landed with this is almost a horror chapter actually, because it's quite a scary.
Especially this scene.
Yeah, she's hiding.
She's hiding.
The drool or whatever it is that drops in front of her, and then she's off and running. And I envisioned this page from one of the first pages of her jumping out of the building, and I just love the negative space. I don't know why, and that's maybe why we ended up landing with the cover, because there's something about that which I think really makes it pop. And again, the story connects back to the next one. So here we have a drone that's watching her punch in the number to sneak back into her bastion, which is also what creates the wolf, allowing them to come in the Cinderella chapter. Now, with Jack, again, this is one of the images I had from very start. Like I had three: Red, something about locks, and Jack, where it's just him hanging out watching the floating city. And that actually helped inform the bigger story about where the wolf soldiers, what their base is. It's the floating city up that looks over their destroyed post-apocalyptic city. And Jack is a bit of a character who can just sneak out and scavenge.
Yeah, do his thing. I think it's drawn here as well, right? Like
Floating City. Oh, yes, so you must have seen that. So this one, the artist was... So I didn't actually talk about quickly the artist's name from chapter 2. That was Yusuf Adelaide from Nigeria. Amazing comic artists. But this one we have Zidiat Chakoy, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, from Morocco. So you'll hopefully see a bit of the references in the designs of the characters. Because he could have been blonde, he could have been other, but he was like, no, I want to bring, I suggested, and he said, yeah, I want to bring my kind of look into this, which is a lighter skinned sort of Moroccan, which I don't think it's ever explicitly told, but I like to think that that's what these characters represent. Here we have the beanstalk, I guess, coming down. I thought, I never really knew how to really capture this, but I think this works with the elevator coming down, crashing. He sneaks on. He goes up to the giant's castle in the sky. If you go with the old Jack and the Beanstalk story, and we introduce this other character, who maybe I won't bring it up who it is yet, but you'll find out. She's just a scientist who works with the wolf soldiers, but is also just sympathetic towards the cause of the survivors down and helps Jack escape and gives him another little Easter egg, literally, egg-shaped device, a golden egg that Jack in the traditional story takes from the giants. And in fact, it does kind of link back, because when they come down to attack them, it's like the giant coming down to attack as well. But this moment with them, that he sees them come, that's because they have got the code from the previous chapter, and they're coming in to scout and to attack. And that's what brings us straight to Cinders. So this...
Maybe we could just...
A bit faster?
Yeah, well, you also don't necessarily need to give the whole thing, tell the whole school. I mean, you can if you want to, but we're probably already at 10, 15.
All right, so only got 3 chapters left.
You could just also just like flick through and go, this is just highlights to get in the artist, and so and just rather than tell everybody the whole story, you know, if it is just a preview.
Yeah, that's a good point.
As opposed to like we try not a read through.
Yeah, okay, cool.
You know, like just that anyway, and then go to the back of the stuff.
And that's actually probably good, because we use this as a preview, and so we've gone through the first 4 chapters. These ones can be a bit more.
Yeah. So I can cut.
You can cut around this.
Cut it as soon as you guys are out of. Yeah.
Do you want me to? I'll open it again, and you might be able to cut it on the open. But
he's good at being able to cut it when you had your hands up. Just take your hands out and then put it back in, and then it starts. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we have chapter 5, Cinders, and this is illustrated by Silvia Ferreira from Brazil. Again, brought in that Brazilian element into Cinderella, who is traditionally blonde, but that's only because of the Disney character. And this is the wolf soldiers attack, and we'll just flick through some of that. But you can see that we referenced the original story a little bit, but really it's now really building up to bring all these stories together. And it's because of this attack of the Bastion, we get into our next chapter, which is children running away, getting lost in the woods. And in this case, it's Hansel and Gretel, which I called the twins. Another Filipino group, I don't know if you know these guys, Purple Llama Collective.
I've seen their work on Facebook, actually, when I checked them out.
Yeah, a lot more cartoony animation. They do a lot of animation as well. But great, I think it was perfect for this style because we wanted a more youth-centric or child-centric sort of visuals. Again, we follow the story pretty straightforward through the Hansel and Gretel story, but with a few little twists and turns. But again, see that very colourful, dynamic animation sort of style. Which brings us to our second last chapter, the last one with only one character. And this is by a French artist who I thought I found online, Darius, I can't pronounce his last name, but I'm going to try, Kepczynski, who I saw did a lot more, which in my eyes is French type art. A little bit scratchier, a little bit more...
gritty or more dark color tones.
Yes, and it works for this character, and like his use of light. It works for this chapter because, and this is one that I've heard some of the people who've bought it were a little bit unsure of who this character was. It is the character of Rapunzel. Her name's Zenway. She's letting down her hair to let them up. And in this case, it doesn't stick too much to the story. And I will just quickly point out, we did have some people pay to get their faces in the comic from the Kickstarter.
From the Kickstarter.
So you can see, I kind of made it so they stand out a little bit. You can see some of them there. Which is always fun to get your own face in a comic. And this is really leading up to that final big chapter where we bring everyone together. But you can see that kind of art style, looser, even to different sort of eye designs, which I liked. It was all about eclectic design work. And then it was at the final thing, we're running out of time, final chapter, Ever After. And this is where we reused one of Raymund's covers, because when you came up with this, was it because you were thinking about that minimalist design?
Yeah, minimalist design. Kind of like they're trying to leave the city, but the city won't let them. That's why there's this kind of string attached to them.
Oh, that's great. I just thought it was a cool design work. But when there's some themes...
Even if they try to get out or try to run away, they won't be able to. They can't. The city will.
And the eyes of the wolf is always looking. Yeah, great. Again, another team, colorist and artist team from Brazil. So Lucas Assis, that's right, and the colorist is Guillermo Sabino. We saw the ink work come in, it was really strong, and then the art color, I saw the flats, and I was a bit like, I'm not sure about that. And then his work came in with all the reflection, and which I think you could talk to that about some of the color, how you can really elevate from the flatting to the next level.
Yeah, because the flat colors, I mean, there are art style that works with flat colors, but I think this one, it works really well with how the line arts are drawn. It really makes the pages pop out and emphasize especially this lighting.
Yeah, the use of light.
Lights.
Like you can see even in that reflections, and I get excited by that because it feels sort of a bit of a modern take, especially as an old comic fan myself. Some beautiful design work there. And I'm not going to go to the end because you'll have to read to find out. But there you have it. Future Tales graphic novel. Get into it.
You're off to see